Well, we're recording there, Jim. So give us a little spin on that again. Go on.
Yeah.
Football's
live.
Yeah,
Live
we're live.
in
Thank you.
Edinburgh.
Live. We are live. Lads, I've got a confession to make. Actually, can I ask you a question to start with?
Oh, there's one or the other. Confessional question.
I'll go question.
Okay.
Does my skin look good to you?
You look. I mean, I thought it was a filter, but
What fucking podcast? Am I doing the wrong podcast?
No, just bear with me. Bear with me, right?
Fucking hell.
Because I'm so glad that you said it was a filter. So, you know, my missus is like a beauty therapist and she does all skin treatments and whatever. So she said to me there on Friday, she said, look, do you want me to give you this micro needling treatments? Because Jim, Tank, you know, I'd say Tank doesn't give a shit, but I know you would, Jim, as a metrosexual man. We're getting a little bit older.
A bit of micro needling, yeah.
Bit of micro needling, right? So my missus said, look, I'll give you this treatment. It's 250 quid.
Well, you got to pay your missus.
No, I'm getting it for free. That's what I'm saying.
Lad, fucking hell. What you should have to tell her, go fuck herself.
250 quid. Anyway, lads, look what she did to my face. Listen to the noise of this needle.
Hang on a minute.
Vibrate to that, lad. That's not needle, that, lad.
That did sound. Jimmy's face is all excited.
I'm a little bit concerned what's going on below that picture on the phone.
Look at my head. Look at the blood on my head. You see that?
There's something going up your poop tube there.
Lad, that looks brutal, that lad.
Mate,
Is that blood?
Lad, mate, look at what my face was like after it.
How long did that last for? Why so?
So, to be fair, this is why I was asking the question about my skin. For 2-3 days, I looked like a Burns victim. Like, it looked so bad. Like, honestly, I had to do works calls with a woolly hat on. I had to do a works call with woolly hats on. But anyway, all the scars have gone now. And you're saying, Jim, my skin looks like I've had a filter.
I think it looks half decent, yeah, mate.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm fortunate, me lads. I've never had a spot in me fucking life, really, and I only swim my face with my own bathwater, so that works.
Tank's tips here. Tank's beauty tips.
Just at the back.
Fucking hell. But you're wrinkly as fuck, lad. You might not have had
46, you ugly cunt.
So, lads, how are you? Before I tell you my skin care treatments, Jimbo, how's the week been?
Yeah, good, mate. Back to footy this weekend, so kids footy back on yesterday.
How'd you get on?
Got battered, mate. Well, actually, that's a lie. First game they got battered. Played Peterborough, but they had a load of under-10s in. And when I say under-10s, I'm talking under-10 Giants, right? So the first game they got battered. Eh?
They have beards and stuff.
Mate, like, I'm sure one of them had a drink of Carlin at half-time. But first game they got bad, but they were a bit rusty. First game back, and then second game they turned it on a bit. And not joking you, this number 7 and this, he scored. They lost 6-4, and he scored all 6 goals. He's about as tall as you, Jay, but he's
dead
shot.
Tall, then, yeah,
dead tall for a 10-year-old. I mean, not for an adult, but he's shot, mate. Honestly, and we, for some strange reason, and I don't like. The balls that Burton have.
Oh, we are. He's gone full clap here, Tank. He's going to start blaming the balls here. Look at this.
No. Like, but they're dead. Like, they're pumped up to like extreme. Like, it's like a boulder. Like, some of the kids were crying after kicking it. Honestly, it was so hard. So this fucking number 7 absolutely blasting balls. He's about 9 foot tall to the rest of our under 9s, and fucking kids are getting hit. Going down like they've been hit with a cannonball because the ball's fucking rock hard. But yeah.
So you took it well then, Jim, yeah? Took defeat well.
Mate, yeah, we did. I mean, to be fair, Arch was awful the first game. He wasn't his usual self. Then he turned it on the second game. And he had that number. He played in defence one for about 10 minutes. He had that number 7 on toast. So not bad. Can't complain.
Good stuff. Tank, any crack with you?
Quiet, mate. Quiet, to be honest, the weekend. Never done a great deal. Just took Jack back to football. He's in full swing again now, so yeah.
You had him, you sent us a picture. You had him out running over Christmas. You were giving him some drills in the garden.
Well, to be fair, he got a program, like, and they had to fucking, they've got, like, I don't know what it is. They've got, like, an app on the phone. So, and he's got his Apple Watch and it converts the stuff on what they're doing.
So they can track everything
he
that he's
can
doing.
track. But, and to be fair to the kid, he done all of that and he done a bit extra. So I just got me out fucking Mickey Adams at Leicester City. The old fucking the flower run. It's a bastard. It's an absolute bastard.
Why so? Why so? Is that like stained you forever? Like it was that bad?
Just a horrible run, and it doesn't even. Do you know when you're doing it? It doesn't really sound bad, but it's like basically you've got the centre circle, which Mickey used to call the centre of the flower, so that's there, and then you've got cones like the halfway line all the way round the pitch, like poles, and you've got to go round the pole, and you make like a flower thing. You know what I mean, like that.
Yeah, I get it.
And if you don't break the halfway line, you've got to go into the half the centre circle and come back out. And I remember we were doing it at Leicester. And honestly, it's a fucking killer because it's so long as well. Because you can imagine you're going all the way around and you've got to go around the whole pitch and start back where you are. And then you've got to do it with a ball. So if you don't break the centre circle, like he just says, if you don't do it, I'll stop it. You start from the beginning. And we were on, I think we had like only 3 poles to go. And one of the young kids fucking never broke the centre circle. And he went, stop, back to your poles, you cheating cunts.
So you all had to do it.
See him, that cheating little cut, and like the fucking kid got battered, like because you've got like senior play, like your Jerry Taggart and Matty Elliott, who running isn't their forte. So we're 3 runs away from like fucking death, and you've got to go back and start again.
Oh, did you do it? Did you all go back and do it?
You have to start again. If you don't break the circle, Mickey was ruthless. I used to love it. He was like, yes, he's not done it. Start again, all back in the original poles. So you can imagine, it's like about fucking 12 or 14 runs, and we're 3 away, and this young kid never broke the centre circle.
And he was never seen again.
Yeah. The end of him,
he's in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. Lads, I want to start off by talking about the FA Cup, right? Because obviously it was FA Cup weekend this weekend. We've all had our own experiences in the FA Cup. Tank certainly more than me and Jimmy. First question before we dive into some of the results and some of the talking points that's coming out of the weekend is there a way that we can make the FA Cup restored to its former glories? And the reason I say that is, right, I don't know if you saw the FA Cup draw, right, but it was absolutely dog shit. Like the way that the FA Cup used to be all exciting and you'd be buzzing off the draw. And I just feel you're looking at some of the attendances of the games over the weekend, really poor. I just feel like the FA Cup has lost a lot of its magic, not to the lower clubs, because it's still a lifeline for a lot of those in terms of the revenues that they'll get in. And me and Jimmy would have seen firsthand some of the clubs we played for over the years, how much a good FA Cup run can basically make a club sustainable for the next 2, 3, 4 years. What do you make of it, Tank? Do you just feel now that these kind of top tier managers see it as more of an opportunity or hindrance in a way to their seasons, in that it's another game to play? You've then got to factor in potential replays, which, in an already cluttered football calendar is a headache that managers don't need. Do you feel like it's just, it's conflicting the rest of the football calendar? It's causing issues that way?
I think the problem that you've got with it, it's completely and utterly lost all of its credibility, the FA Cup. And I don't like what it's become, because, we're probably all the same. When we were a lot younger, the FA Cup was the fucking... It
was the cup.
It was. It was the league and then the FA Cup above everything.
Do you remember they used to start the build-up at like 12 o'clock of the cup final?
FA Cup final was unbelievable. I mean, I remember the fucking Liverpool Everton Cup final. It was a weekend full of fucking, like, you can't wait. It's just... And now, I mean, you take an example, you look at Forest, 11 changes and they get beat 4-1 at Blackpool. I think the only Premier League side that actually went fucking strong were Liverpool, and they were shit. but when you look at Aston Villa, they've rested players. But you know what I think? Do you know what I think it is, Jamie? I think there's that much pressure on top flight clubs, like Premier League clubs, straight from the top to bottom. There's that much pressure to either win the league, get Champions League, get Europa League, or stay in the league. I think that is, if you every chairman and board and directors of every Premier League club every single season say, like, the bottom 8 is stay in the Premier League. That's it. Stay in the Premier League. Now, I looked at the Forest, and I knew Forest had dressed a load of players because they've just started getting a little bit of momentum. He seems to have found the squad, the playing, the starting 11, what he wants. You know, they've had some really good performances. They beat Southampton away. They drew at home with Chelsea. And then you've got the FA Cup coming. So the last thing that Steve Cooper as a manager wants is one of his or two of his starting 11 picking up a thigh injury, a hamstring, because that fucks the momentum what they've got carrying forward. And I think every single club is thinking that way at the minute. I just think it's kind of like it's league at all costs for the big boys to, I even look at you look at the championship, quite a lot of them like rested a hell of a lot of their starting 11 because everything for them is Premier League playoffs. We've got to get there. Fuck the FA Cup. You know, clubs like Forest are probably thinking we're never going to win the FA Cup anyway. So I'm resting all the players to stay in the league.
Yeah, it's nearly like the clubs are now just following the money, and the money doesn't seem to be in an FA Cup run for the top teams anyway, I would say. And Jim, one thing that was interesting for me is I was looking at Jesse Marsh's comments yesterday. They were talking about he'd obviously rotated with Leeds, and his line was interesting. He turned around and he said, to be honest, if we were playing in the Premier League today, the lineup would have been similar because there's no way certain players can play any more minutes at the moment. So you've also got what Tank was saying there around priorities, but also you've got the other side of it, the sports science side of it, where there's so much football on at the minute. It's just so hard to try and make these games as competitive and put on the spectacle that we all want.
Yeah, and Tank took the words out of my mind in what I was thinking is, you know, any regardless of whether you're finishing first or 20th in the Premier League, the first remit on any Premier League managers is to stay in the league, regardless of where you are, because that's where the money is. Now, 20 years ago, the FA Cup was probably one of 3 opportunities for English teams to win a trophy. Now you've got Community Shield, you've got Champions League, you've got World Club Championships. If you win that, there's so many trophies on hand that it's probably not, and it's not a viable. Since the Premier League has been formed, the gap between top 6 to 8 to the rest of the league is just so far flung now that you're not going to get a Portsmouth winning the FA Cup as they did under Harry Redknapp. It's not going to happen. It's either going to be one of the usual suspects or maybe someone in the Premier League like, you take a Brighton maybe, but it's not that much of a surprise. So that's why I think a lot of it has lost that impetus of importance. But around game times, let's have it right. A lot of these players who get rotated should still do a job, regardless of how unmatched fit he should be. Because that 11 that came in for Forest still training every day. They should beat Blackpool. I didn't see the Villa side, so I didn't see what the rotations were. But even still, they as a player coming in, you should be wanting to do well in that game because you want to play other games. So it's actually more embarrassing for me if you're changing your team and you're losing because them players, that tells me
they have a point.
That tells me that you've got a strong 11 and everyone else doesn't give a shit. Whereas when someone like a City rotates, their players coming in because they rotate so often and they've got the squad to do so. They're coming in on not in form, but they're not cold as such. It's a warm start for them. So I think managers need to get better at it. But at the end of the day, I bet not anyone's remit at the start of the season as a Premier League manager is win the FA Cup. That's never will be in the top 1 or 2 because it'll be win the league, go for Europe because that's where the cash comes in, and that's
go on, mate.
No, I was just saying that's what every business wants, isn't it? For or any Premier League chairman wants is more income.
Well, I'll say to you, building on that, Tank, I'll say to you, Liverpool went all out for all the cups last year, and their legs have fell off this year. Yeah. So what does that say to you? Unless you have the squad to compete, on all fronts. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, because Liverpool look completely and utterly dead this year after going all in for the league and the FA Cup.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. It's kind of like, and Liverpool have got one of the biggest squads in the Premier League as well. So you kind of look at, like, you know, and they still couldn't cope with it. So you've got to look at your likes. For me, looking at that, I think the prize money for winning the FA Cup, I might be wrong here, but I think it's about 2.5, 3 million for the winners, roughly. Now, say for instance, if a Brighton rest all their players and then win 2 or 3 games extra, each place in the Premier League's worth a fucking million. So if you're 22nd in the Premier League and you finish 21st, you get $1 million extra. So it's kind of like, as Jimmy said there, these board of directors are known. It's all about money. You know, do you take a chance on winning the FA Cup where you don't really get 2 or 3 million prize money, or do you rest it and just target the Premier League and hope that you can get an extra 2 or 3 places and keep a fit squad? I just think it's just kind of like, it's also a money thing for me, to be honest, lads. I just think there's that much money in the Premier League and the Champions League, and to get so far up the league that the FA Cup doesn't matter.
I just had a look there. It's 2 million. 2 million for the winners, $1 million for final runners up, semi-final losers, 500 grand. Semi-final winners, you get $1 million. So, you know, if you're comparing that, that's it. Yeah. A couple of the results.
So if you're looking at the big clubs, it's not worth it.
No, definitely. And then you've got the next stage of that. If the big clubs don't give a shit and they put the second or third string out in some cases, it's not the spectacle that anybody wants to see anymore. And then you've obviously got the competing interests of all the different governing bodies who want their fixture played at a certain time, and no one's talking to each other, and ultimately the players are knackered, they're injured. It's just all a little bit of a mess. But that said, I mean, looking at some of the games, we were actually a little rushed putting the agenda together this morning. So I was like, Tank, anything you want to talk about? And the first thing you said was Everton. And you've been very vocal in talking about Frank Lampard, the limitations of what you believe to be the limitations of Frank Lampard. I actually had a discussion with my cousin over the weekend, and the
one on Twitter was decent.
Yeah, that was it. That was my cousin. Yeah, so he was basically saying that there is a media narrative around Frank Lampard at the moment. He's massively in favour of Lampard. He feels like it's other people's. Other people at Everton should be more accountable, i.e. the board, people making the signings. He feels like Lampard gets a rough end of the deal. I'm not giving an opinion either way at this moment in time, but it was interesting to hear Conor Cody's comments when he came out off the back of the result and talked very, very glowingly around Frank Lampard and what an impact he's having. Where do you sit? Well, I know where you sit on this, Tank, but what do you make of that side of the story for the Everton?
Well, let's just deal with Conor Cody. Conor Cody's only on loan and is desperate to come back home and desperate for a nice contract and desperate to get a move to Everton. So he's going to tell that Frank Lampard's the greatest thing. Frank Lampard's the greatest fraud in football at this moment. There is no bigger fraud than Frank Lampard. Let's just say something about, like, you talk about this Man City results, right? I'm a UEFA A licensed coach, and I can tell you now, I could have got that group of Everton players and said, you bastards, stay behind the ball, all 11 of you, defend like fuck, defend deep, 5 across the back, 5 across the middle, and we hope to God we just catch them on the break and someone scores a goal. That's the easiest thing in world football to coach. A defensive structure like that, to get everyone behind the ball, camped in your own half, and have no thought process of attacking whatsoever. That is the easiest thing in world football to coach. So I ain't giving them any credit for putting 11 men behind the ball against Man City, who, by the way, are not in great form themselves when you look at their run. They got a last-minute goal at home against Fulham. They got beat by Brentford 2-1 at home, and they drew at Everton. So it's not the Man City what we all used to and accustomed to see. So the fact that he got a 1-1 draw is fucking nothing, because them 1-1 draws, that's not going to do for Everton. He then got found out in a game where he had to win, Jamie. He had to win that Brighton game. And he opened up and went expansive. And what happened? They got absolutely smashed 4-1 by Brighton, and could have been a lot more, by the way. He's had £150 million to spend. So where's I think there is an agenda with Frank Lampard in the media. And I think it's all pro-Lampard, because he should be getting absolutely dog's abuse. Rafa Benitez had a zero budget, and he could only bring loan players in. He brought Andres Townsend in on free and Damari Gray for the free, and he's probably Everton's best player now, Damari Gray. And I just think he's the biggest bluffer, and there's only one way Everton are going to go, and it's down unless they make a change fast.
Lowest points per game, Jim, now Lampard, across the last 7 Everton managers, with Roberto Martinez at 1.56. Lampard is the lowest at 1.07, below Rafa Benitez. Where are you on this? Because I do find it interesting. I know what tank means. There seems to be certain people within the media who don't want to call out Lampard, but then when speaking to Everton fans, because he seems to get Everton and they're bought into him and his feelings for the club, and they see him as a blue and all this. I just find it interesting how you can have totally contrasting narratives around the same manager.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Lampard's star is waning in Everton. I was fairly impressed with what he'd done in getting him solid, but it's all well and good getting someone solid, but then you've still got to go and score goals, and then it seems like the solidness of the defence has waned a bit. But I'm also in agreement with Ray in that Everton always had a stability at board level. It was Ken Wright and then, the managers, and it was fairly stable under Martinez, David Moyes, with Big Dunk there. So there was some sort of stability. And then since Mashiri's come in, it seems to have gone a bit ski with. So you still got Ken Wright involved. You've got Mashiri. I don't know. There's a lady there in there. I forgot her name. I don't know the lady's name. And it seems to be a lot of discord from board down to pitch. So I can understand that from an Everton fan, because although Mashiri came in and was seen, it was, I think he's got a lot of cash, but their transfer policy is worse than Chelsea's, and they bought the wrong players in the wrong positions from the wrong clubs, and Lampard's seemingly trying to get him into a team. So I can understand Everton fans defending Lampard, but for me, I think they need a change in there. But they need someone. So I look at, I saw a Stoke fan saying that they were looking back at Pulis when they were, because it wasn't long ago when they were in the FA Cup final. They were playing shit football, but they're in the Premier League. They can't buy a win now, and languishing.
What you wish for.
Exactly. So do you get in a manager that comes in, gets everyone behind the ball, knows how to score on the counter, and you stay in the Premier League? Or do you stay with Lampard, who was seemingly brought in to play decent football, I would assume, because of his, his past and who he's played for and teams he's played in and his achievements. But seemingly he's gone the other way and just chucking 10 men behind the ball. So I can understand Everton's fans sort of disinterest in the board, because it is a mess at the top. But that doesn't.
What do Everton want? What do Everton?
It doesn't take away from the manager, though. It doesn't mean that Lampard gets a free pass because of they're a mess at board level. He's still got to put a team out and get results, and he's not doing that. I
don't get what Everton fans want. I mean, I've got a few mates who are Everton fans, and what do they want? What do they think they are? I know Ray was saying on Twitter that there's an agenda against Frank, but there should be, because he's absolutely flopped. Everton have been in massive decline since and let's get this right, the fans hounded out Sam Allardyce and Samuel Tate. They finished 8th in the Premier League and had cup runs. And since they did hound him out, they were chanting every game that they want him out and get him out, and protesting against the board to sack him. They finished 8th in the Premier League.
3rd best points per game, Sam Allardyce, out of that list at 7 list of Everton managers.
He wasn't there long.
So this is the thing I find interesting, right? Is if I said to you now, Tank, and I know what your answer is going to be, because you've spoke well about him in the past, but if you said now, Everton have got a big stadium on the way. It's not like they're flush with cash. Not a lot of football clubs are these days. If they go down now, it could be really detrimental for them to return. If I said to you now, who would give Everton the best chance of staying in the Premier League? Frank Lampard in his current guise. There's rumours that they're after the likes of a Danny Ings, who, for the record, I think would be a good signing for Everton because he knows where the goal is. He run the channels well, give them a bit more dynamism. I think it makes sense. So they're clearly looking to address that top end of the field. I don't think anyone can account for Calvert-Lewin's drop off. I think he doesn't look great.
Drop off. He's just made of chocolate, isn't he? He's just his bones and his.
But consistency and goals, you can't rely on him.
You can't rely on him, mate. He's, for as good a player he is, if he could stay fit, he'd be challenging. He wouldn't be at Everton for starters, and he would be challenging Harry Kane for England position. But he can't stay fit.
Absolutely no chance he challenges Harry Kane. On what? On the back of one good season? I think
my point is, he's a decent player and he's good. He's good enough, but if you can't stay fit, you can't. Look at Daniel Sturridge since he had that that Liverpool season with Suarez. He should have been going on and doing some amazing things, but he can't stay fit. So your career just declines. If you can't get games, you can't do anything about your career, can you?
So that's the thing. Everton weren't accounting for that. But if I said to you now, Tank, who gives Everton the best chance of staying in the Premier League? Frank Lampard in the current setup with the current players, give or take, maybe bringing in a striker or two, or Sean Dyche? Who keeps Everton in the Premier League? Because I can't understand how an Everton fan would be that loyal to Lampard and not look at this and go, I don't fancy our chances there. They're 3 points off the bottom of the league.
Yeah, no. Listen, there's not even a debate. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work and see Sean Dyche's work closely, and the man doesn't get the recognition he should do. And I've said this many times on the podcast. People just see him as this, let's get it right.
He's big into data as well, didn't you?
Hugely into data. I mean, I was fortunate, and I've said this many times on this podcast, I was fortunate enough to go through the analysis, the pre-match analysis, which was recorded, and all of us coaches at Burnley at the time were allowed to watch it when Dyche was basically going through all the analysis and how Burnley were going to structure and set up to play against Liverpool at Turf Moor. And it was fucking outstanding. It was outstanding to watch. And then we were fortunate enough to watch the clips of the game, and they beat Liverpool. You probably remember the game. And he was just like, we stay narrow and let them cross balls into the box all day long. And all he done, just had heads on a stick, bop, bop. Andreas Gray on the break, bang, beat Liverpool 1-0. And honestly, it kind of like opened my eyes to think, fuck, he's exceptional. Because it was like, and he must have been drilling. I didn't see that, but he must have been drilling the plays on the training ground. This is how we do. This is how we do it. And you've got to take into consideration, he's like, it wasn't even a top half championship budget what he was on. There was not many Burnley players on 20 grand a week in the Premier League. So, what he done with that Burnley side? I'll be honest with you, I'm not too sure it's an attractive proposition right now, Everton, because there's clearly no funds there to go in and make changes, because the Jordan Pickford contract situation's a funny one for me. I don't know whether you've seen that.
Rumours Spurs are after him, aren't they?
Well, everything's agreed. The contract's done. Everything's agreed, but the club haven't forwarded the contract on to be signed. It's like, you got your England international goalkeeper there, and you've offered him a contract, and it's been like, I was reading about it the other day, and it's 3 weeks now, and you kind of like,
what's the delay?
What's the delay? If all parties have agreed, the lad wants to stay. Frank Lampard was on the telly saying he wants to stay. We hope we can get it sorted. Well, if it's all sorted, why is it not signed? So I'm not too sure there's money there for a new manager to come in. Any manager worth their salt will want to come in and bring that. They're poor. They need players. But if there's no place to come in, Sean Dyche should come in there and make them solid. There'll be set plays, and they'll be tough, very tough to beat, and he will hit teams on the break like Burnley used to.
Talking of teams making signings, Jim, Chelsea. You see that segue? You like that one? That's all right there. Chelsea obviously looking to spend the cash, probably ruffling a few feathers while they do that. Talk around Enzo Fernandez and messing the player around, the club around, not making too many friends. But look, they're making signings. Graham Potter, the Vultures, we said it last week, are the Vultures starting to circle? Has he just been a little bit unlucky that he's had to play City back-to-back here? Do you know what I mean? Because there seems to be this chain of thought now that the narrative is changing slightly around him. And I think he's a great coach. I just don't know if Chelsea was the right club for him at this time. It just feels like he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and he's probably not going to be given the time that he probably deserves.
Answer me a question then before I go into it. When's the last time a manager from a seemingly lower end of the table who's gone to a bigger club done well?
Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool.
I mean, he had a decent season. I'll give him that. But
you weren't expecting me to pull that one out the back pocket now.
That's still one of the most entertaining sides I've seen at Liverpool.
But it's when you've got Suarez and Sturridge as well as Coutinho, mate. I think
I've absolutely killed you there. Sorry,
you haven't, because I think my point is the transition.
The point is, I'm just going to ignore your point and I'm going to carry on anyway.
Because he got sacked in the end anyway, didn't he? So
they all do, Jim, at some
point. So the transition from lower league, no, not lower league, but a seemingly smaller club to a larger club doesn't usually end well. The reason why these elite managers do the roundabouts because they know and have the experience of dealing with one of several things: expectations of the board, expectations of fans, larger than life players, world-class players players with attitudes. If you're in a lower end club, you don't usually have that because you can't afford them luxuries. You've got someone, if you're fighting at the bottom, you've got someone who's not pulling their weight, usually just get rid of them. Because one, they won't be on that much money. Two, it's easier to do so. At the top end, it's not that easy. You're on bigger wages, large contracts, and it makes it difficult for that manager. So what works at one club doesn't necessarily always work at another club. And I've never, as I said, mate, other than Brendan Rodgers, who had a good season, the transition period is never easy, and not easy. And they seemingly never get the time to put into place what they did so well elsewhere because they're not afforded them luxuries. So, well, I could understand why the Vultures are circling around Graham Potter. He's a great coach. He's done a great job at Brighton. And unfortunately, the Premier League, if you go to one of these clubs, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, people want results straight away. And he isn't doing that. And the worst thing about it is there doesn't seem to be a change in any way of playing. So he's not being able to stamp his style onto the team for me. So what he did so well at Brighton, he's just seemingly unable to do at Chelsea. So that makes his job even harder. And then now players are being bought. Again, doesn't seem like he has much say in it. Todd Bowley's buying all the best young talent across Europe and the world and chucking them in and probably expecting them to play. So he's then got to find a system to get them in. He's got players there that I would count as deadwood that need to be shipped out. So it's an odd job and he's seemingly failing at the minute. So I'd like to think he gets time, but I think he's got to the end. They're not going to obviously go down. He's probably got to the end of the season, and I think they'll look at something else in and around Europe.
You've been complimentary, haven't you, Tank, of Chelsea's business?
I think Chelsea's business is absolutely out of this world.
Really?
Out of this world. I think Graham Potter has been the most unluckiest football manager in world football right at this minute. He signed no players in the summer. None of them are his players. You go through Chelsea's unavailable players at the minute.
Oh, mate,
we think Liverpool's having a bad time. They are absolutely decimated with injuries. Before the kickoff against Man City in the league, they had two, but in 5 minutes, they lost 3 players. They lost one in the warm-up and 2 come off within 5 minutes. So I read, but you look at the bit, and I don't think I'd like to see them their owner, and I think he will, to come out and just say, "Fuck you, he's staying."
He's my man, yeah.
Because I think Graham. Let's go through their signings, what they've made. The boy from Leicester, the centre half, one of the best young up and coming centre halves in world football. They got the other centre half from
can't stay fit though, Tank. That's his issue, mate.
He's not. Well, he signed injured, didn't he? So they knew he was injured. But for me, I'm telling you now, the business, what they done. Put it this way: if it was Liverpool making these signings, I'd be like, we're fucking all right, We'll take this season.
These will come good, yeah.
We'll take this season. We'll take a beat in the season. But fuck me. We've got to, if they get Enzo Fernandez, they get the boy from who they're pushing hard for, by all accounts, Shakhtar Donetsk, who Arsenal are trying to sign. They've got the Leipzig centre forward coming in the summer as well.
Casado's meant to be going to Chelsea as well in centre mid.
Listen,
Fastest price apparently Brighton as well.
Yeah.
They'll suffer if proper people who understand football, Chelsea fans who know the game, they must sit there and realise if Liverpool were making all these signings, now me and you be going, fucking hell.
We're back. We're back
here. We'll take that in the chin here, but we have got some serious young talent. Because as you just hit the nail on the head, Jimmy, they're signing the best young players in the world. You've got that kid who's meant to be a genius from Santos, 18 million. Bang, There you go. You're coming in as well. I'm telling you, there's nothing up with Chelsea, in my opinion, at the minute. They might suffer this season, but...
So I want to talk to you about something that annoyed me. So I have to caveat this, mate. I'm being a bit of a grump at the moment with football. I'm not enjoying football. Jimmy may have realised this in our WhatsApp group. I don't know. Did we
lose it?
Yeah. No, football is just. I really enjoy watching football. Non-Liverpool games are great. I'll just give me all the football content in the world. I'm happy. Liverpool are not good for my health at the moment. So I'm just a little bit on edge, right? And there was an article that Tank brought into my life, and it pissed me off from the Daily Mail. So that should have been that should have told me everything I needed to know before I opened it. But I get rattled by football narratives. There was an article by the Daily Mail which basically ranked all the biggest signings in recent. I think it was from this season. All the biggest signings, whether they were a hit or miss, right? And I cannot believe, and I don't want this to become the Darwin Núñez show, but I am like team, number one fan Darwin Núñez. But they were ranking players in terms of whether they've been hit, miss, or the jury is still out, right? Let me give you the names of some of these, right? So, Anthony, you're a big fan, Jim.
I'm not. You make it like he's my favorite.
Has he got a stutter? Or did we break up? Did the signal go?
No, I was actually looking at the article actually just to see who was in there. But no, I think I can understand the jury's out on Anthony. To be fair,
the jury shouldn't be out. He should be jailed for impersonating a footballer.
Did you actually say that he was better than Ronaldo? Is that just Tank's name on the screen? Is Jimmy said Anthony is better than Ronaldo?
You didn't speak in a WhatsApp group because you were sulking because Liverpool were bad. So me and Jimmy and Jimmy said to me, he went, Ronaldo started off like a bag of shit. Now, for me, he's compared to Ronaldo.
Not at any point did the words Anthony is better than Ronaldo ever come out of my mouth. We're arguing around.
I've just put a bit of tax on it.
And I said, the type of player
bit of creative license.
I said, the type of player he is, just like Ronaldo. When Ronaldo first came here, he was awful. I did use the word awful. I did use the word awful. And I probably didn't mean that. What I meant was he was raw, very raw. And he got shaped into the player he is. Now, whether Anthony will fulfill that potential, that's anyone's guess. But never in any way, shape, or form.
Ronaldo was 18, 19 when he came over.
And that's fine. Look, I'm not comparing the two. All I'm saying, I was using him as an example as to people coming here with raw ability that have gone on to be world beaters. Neymar, I said the same about Neymar at Barcelona. He was raw.
To Neymar now.
Oh my God, Jim! Jeez,
I'm not comparing.
You're not helping yourself here. Jimmy Mack says.
My point is, certain players of certain skill sets go to places and they tend to find their feet.
So
It's
you're
what-
saying
Can
that
I just
Anthony
say
has...
something, Jimmy? You know, sometimes in life, what you're best doing, and I'm a bit older than you, as you pointed out before with me wrinkles.
Fucking look it.
Sometimes in life, what you're best doing is just saying, to be honest with you, lads, and say it on the podcast now because everyone will hear it. I made a monumental fuck up when I said that Anthony is potentially world class.
I
when
never
United
said. No,
signed him.
you're
I
just putting
fucked him up
words
and he's shit.
into my mouth. You are
And then
putting
everyone will
words
go,
into my
"Fair
mouth.
play, Jimmy."
You may as well just say anything. You may as well just say that I said Connor Cody is better at step overs than fucking Ronaldo. You may as well just say anything because this
You did say that actually in the
You did say
WhatsApp
it,
group.
Jimmy.
You did say
I did
that.
You
say
said
that.
it's potentially
I said Connor
world-class.
Cody will score more overhead kicks than Ronaldo will ever do.
Yes, fair point. Actually, while we're on monumental fuck-ups, I did think that Liverpool didn't need to sign a midfielder at the start of the season. I felt that between the 8 players that we had, I was like, look, if it means that we got to wait till the summer and get somebody in and we sell a few players and all that, I was like, look, we'll be fine. I was very, 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 very wrong, but we'll come back to that in a second. So a couple of other people in this article. So Anthony was classed as the jury's out, okay? Fofana from Chelsea, classed as jury's out. Richarlison, Jim, who you're a big fan of, the jury is still out. Now, forgive me, has Richarlison scored for Spurs?
No.
He's been injured, hasn't he, though?
No, but
No,
like,
he
Hang on a
He's
minute.
injured.
When we're talking
He's
about
injured for
Harvey
the ball.
Elliott, you were going, I don't like talking about stats.
no,
Don't
but
like
his
assisting
literal
goals.
striker's job is to score goals.
And is
You were
it? Harvey Elliott's a creative midfielder. How is it his job to
we're
get
talking
assists?
about big money signings here. We're talking about
No,
big
I
money
know.
signings,
I
not
understand
Harvey
that,
Elliott.
and I would agree with you on Richarlison in a minute. He's falling short of what he should be doing. You can't lump one person who scored no goals. But when I do it, Harvey Elliott, it's like, oh, but he's carried the ball 50 yards one
Jimmy,
time.
Harvey Elliott's a
He
fucking-
played
he's
a
a
pass
kid
into
who costs
another
4
pass.
million.
Who played another pass? So that's good from Harvey Elliott because he played one pass 10 passes ago.
Right, you finished, and I'll come back to you.
What don't fucking say something, mate?
He's
Why
rattled
did
it.
we up that?
Yeah, I know when Jimmy's pearly whites come out, he's struggling there. Harvey Elliott was different because you were just trying to say that you benchmarking by assists, and I have a fundamental
You're
problem.
benchmarking with Charlton by goals.
It's a striker's job to literally
Is
score
it a
goals.
creative midfielder's job to get assists?
Now, lads, let's get back on the topic because we're talking about big money signing flops, not a 17-year-old kid who cost 3 million at a tribunal.
Fair point.
Fucking...
No,
Anyway.
because assists, I have a problem with assists, Jim, because you could give somebody an assist for a 2-yard sideways pass and an open goal and someone
Gotta be
taps
in
it
the right
in.
spot at the right time, bro.
No, not having it. Anyway, so
Well, he's only scored one
Richarlison,
goal as well, by the way. So
who? Elliott.
Elliott.
Mate,
More than Richarlison.
So on that point, Richarlison is classed as jury's out, right? Nunes, who has a goal or assist every 97 minutes for Liverpool in his 23 appearances, I think, off the top of my head this season, is classed as a miss. A miss.
Bizarre.
Like, lads.
Because he'd miss it anyway. So
Yeah, fucking fair play to you. That's all. It's not bad. That. What's going on there, though, lads? Seriously, like, is it just why is that allowed to be done? Because it's just bollocks. Like, it's just bollocks, Tank. No.
It's comical, and that's why I sent you the article. One, because you
wanted to piss me off.
Rattle you, but two, like in all serious notes. I mean, let's speak fucking sensible now. The three of us, if we can. It's got Jimmy.
I'll try. Go on, we'll try.
But when you're a big money signing, you get judged by your stats, whether you like it or not. You get judged by stats, and that article for me, whoever wrote it should be sacked. Because
mate,
it's
I
the
was
most
looking who wrote
deluded
it.
article.
Nathan Salt. Have a look at him on Twitter to see who supports.
Who does he support?
I don't know.
Not
I'm
Liverpool,
saying.
anyway.
Listen, lads, we'll have to get his Twitter because I'll fucking hammer him on Twitter. I didn't think of that. But no, on a serious note, you look at like Forfar, Chelsea, the centre back. I think he's an outstanding player, but he's not kicked a ball for them.
He's not done anything.
He's done nothing. So how is that like even a jury's out? Sterling. I mean, let's put things into perspective with Sterling. Sterling's been a shocking sign for Chelsea. I love Sterling as a player, but he was brought in to add goals to Chelsea to replace Lukaku and Werner, basically. And he's been shite.
He was still jury's out in this
jury's
article,
out, but you've got Nunes, who causes fucking carnage. Amazing to watch. 10 goals, 23 games. God knows how many assists. And he's a miss. It's like, come on. Now, we're talking about agendas with Lampard.
Let's be honest, because Liverpool are very bad at the moment. And
Shocking.
he's got those in a team that isn't exactly flowing with confidence. Structurally, they're miles off. There's not a huge amount of interplay. And I seen a stat there the other day. Him and Mo Salah are the only two players, or Liverpool are the only team to have two players that have scored 10 or more goals in all competitions in the Premier League. So for all this talk, there's a bit of a partnership. There's a bit of a partnership going there. Go on, Jim.
Is it 10 or more goals in all competitions or in the Premiership?
All competitions.
You said in all competitions.
I didn't.
In the Premiership.
I said, teams from the Premier League. Teams from the Premier League.
5 minutes in, let me write this down.
Look, you're rattled. You're rattled, and you need to listen to what I said.
I'm not rattled.
So a team that has two players that have scored 10 or more goals in all competitions from the Premier League, a Premier League club.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right there.
You did say that, but go on.
I did. Anyway, so that was me rant of the week out the way. I'm going to let you...
fair, though, he's got what he's wanted. I told you last week. His article's probably gone through the roof. All you Liverpool fans are probably giving him shitload of jip on Twitter, and he's got exactly what he wanted.
So there's us feeding into that narrative that Jim raised. Are you literally writing down the time of what we've just discussed? You're a wanker, you lad. To be fair, it's probably proved Jimmy's point there that you can say anything to a Liverpool fan and they'll get pissed off.
It's not say anything. Well, you can say anything, but you say anything around Darwin Núñez and it's fucking, oh my God.
It's just, I think it's unfair. I think
he deserves backing. I would deserve the backup from all Liverpool fans because, listen, and we've had this in our WhatsApp group. Liverpool are fucking shit. The only person who I'm interested in watching is Núñez. Yeah. Salah's shit. Salah's fucking being embarrassing. Yeah. But Captain Carnage, I love watching him because what he brings to the table.
Yeah, there's not much.
I think I could piss on all your kids and you wouldn't get as mad as if I said a miss for Darwin Núñez for this season. You'd be fucking fuming, but you'd be like, that's Jim. That's Jim pissing on the kids. Fucking good old Uncle Jim.
You leave Darwin out of this, you prick.
Yeah. But Núñez, you'll be fighting.
Tank, so we had a couple of other things on the agenda, but time has run away from us, right? I just want to finish on one thing. Liverpool do me head, and so I don't want to talk about it too much. FSG in or FSG out for you?
Should have been gone ages ago, mate. They've served the purpose. You know, they've come in, they've spent they haven't put one single penny of their own pocket, of the hands in their own pocket. Nothing's come out of it. Every single money what comes into the club, what we put out of the club, comes in from player sales. And I personally think that the reason why they're looking to get out now is because they've actually not really got many more assets left to sell for big money, like your Coutinho's or your Suarez and players like that. I think they've run out of assets where we can go, like, who can we sell now? I mean, there was whispers about him talking about fucking Trent Arnold, allowing him to leave. Yeah, that was a kind of a background whisper. Yeah,
that couldn't happen. Jesus.
No, I know. Well, exactly. But so you kind of like, where did he go and what did he want to do? Because they bought the club for 300 million. The value in it 3 billion now. So I don't really understand what their thinking is. I mean, they're getting a lot of stick in America for the Red Sox because they basically decimated them and they've pulled all funding in them. And it's kind of like...
There's parallels between the two clubs.
Yeah, I think as a Liverpool fan now, we should be really, really concerned what's going on with FSG because the other issue as well for me, Jamie, is there's absolutely zero now in the last month or 2 months of anyone being linked with the purchase of the club and they're talking about investors. So what investor's going to come in and say, oh yeah, we'll give you 300 million to go and sign loads of players. No problem at all. But what the fuck are you going to do? You know, you want all of our money. We'll get like 5% of the club. What are you doing? No investor in the right mind's going to do it. They've got to go. But the problem is, they've got to go 2 years ago. And I fear for Liverpool or Tim.
Jim, I was reading a couple of articles today and there was talk that Liverpool won't go into the transfer market for a midfielder this window. I'll be honest. And I say, as I said before, I thought Liverpool had eight centre-mids at the start of the season. I did not expect Fabinho's fall off to be as drastic as it has. Henderson was a little leggy, but I thought that he'd still be able to do a job. It looks like it's tough for him at the minute. Yeah. Naby Keita, you can't rely on him. you expected him to put a run of games together. He just can't, like you were saying before with Calvert-Lewin. You can't rely on him. Thiago needs runners alongside him to flourish, in my opinion. He's the icing on the top of the cake, but we're asking him to do donkey work, which it's like as I said last week, it's like getting a Ferrari and driving around the estate in a Ferrari. There's no point if you're driving it at 30 miles an hour. It just doesn't fit. So that I was wrong on that. I thought Liverpool could have got away with it for the season, and absolutely could not have been more wrong, because you look at the game against Wolves, and it was like, I tweeted it at the time, it's like watching an over 35s midfield play, and it's sad. I just think it would be so negligent for Liverpool to not get a midfielder in this window. But by all accounts, for whatever reason, they seem to be saying in the summer it'll be 250 million we spend on the rebuild. Surely they get a midfielder.
It's been like that for the last few years.
It feels like so.
It's
always next summer.
It's always the summer, isn't it? I always tell the kids, it's always tomorrow when they can have that ice cream. Oh, you can have one tomorrow, I promise.
Yeah.
Problem with your midfielders, you've got 8 midfielders, but you got about 4 good legs between them. So literally, like Fabinho, I've no idea. I think he's been swapped with his brother or something, because he's fucking literally like a different person, lad. He's come in, earned his crust, and gone, fuck this, I'm off to Brazil. My twin brother's coming in, because he can't run, can't pass, can't tackle. He's awful. And I do feel sorry for people like Elliot and Thiago. What happened to Arta? Is he just not? Has he gone back, or is he just?
No, I think they're not going. He's still with us, but I don't think they're going to make obviously anything permanent, because he hasn't kicked the ball. Well, he did kick a ball, but not.
Lads, he's not the answer anyway, is it?
No, he's not the answer.
We shouldn't be getting loan players in.
Yeah.
My big look, Gakpo could be a great signing. It could be a great signing, but it's criminal if you've signed him over any midfielders, because out of everything you've needed, it's not him. Although it's a great signing, that is not the signing.
If you've
need.
Got the money for him, put that on Caicedo. Go and get Caicedo for similar type money.
What do you think you get Alexis McAllister for? I don't know. He's probably now valued 80-odd million.
World Cup tax. Yeah.
At the time, maybe at the beginning of the season, you could have got him for 40, 50 million, which is, what you've paid for Gakpo. So that to me would be the biggest frustration, because of as good as the signing it could be, it's not the signing you need. And if that's what you've wasted your money on because you don't want anyone else to get him, then, with some decent midfielders, I think you could have had a push for top 4 without any coming in. I think you fall away, and that's just as big a hindrance, because you lose, 50-odd million in revenue, plus the
what's the players you want to recruit?
Well, I don't think that'll hinder you, because I think they'll know you will come back. But
Jude Bellingham's not coming to Liverpool next season.
Bellingham's not coming. I don't think if you sign Bellingham, I'll wear a Liverpool shirt. But
okay, I'll just get my pen out and write that one down now. That is
53
minutes. Okay.
I'd be very surprised if you sign Bellingham, but I think.
But he doesn't fix Liverpool's midfield problem. I'd argue that you need to buy 4 midfielders now.
All you need to go and sign is 2 people who's going to run the fucking dogs out of everyone and close and hound, and you can find 2 cheap Kantes, mate. You'd be flying, because then you can just feed, as you said about Harvey Elliott, is all they need to do is feed the fullbacks, wingers, striker, right? So you don't need someone like, as good as a signing Bellingham is. In reality, the way you play is no different to a McAllister, because all he's got to do, get the ball, run a few yards, give it someone else, right?
Put pressure on the opposition would be a fucking start. They don't even press
that's
people
my point.
anymore.
So, if you're spending 150 million on Bellingham for him to press, you're not expecting your midfielders to get shitload of assists and goals. What you're expecting your midfielders as a Liverpool fan is to hound, be horrible, chase down, get the ball, give it to Salah and Nunez, Gakpo, Trent and Robertson. That's all you need to do. So if you get 3 of them fucking horrible bastards in there with a Thiago who can mix it up, spread passes, do a bit of the both and whatnot, then you're back to your recipe for success. At the minute, you've got 2 show ponies in Harvey Elliott and Thiago, with Henderson and Fabinho trying to do the hard stuff and not being backed up, because that's not the way they're wired. Again, it's not your recipe for success. So, like I said, the Gakpo signing over midfielders would be the biggest frustration for me.
Tank, last question before we wrap up. If Liverpool don't get a midfielder in, where do they finish?
8th or 10th, in between 8th and 10th. I think it's the best we can hope for. Because the simple reason is, I mean, I put a little fucking photograph on social media the other day, and I was actually, I kept rewinding it because I was thinking, this can't be right.
Oh,
one drop of the shoulder took 6, and it was a ball from the centre half into the boy we've been linked with from Wolves, and he just dropped his shoulder. And he went. And if you have a look at the picture, you've got our 3 midfielders who were fucking 10 yards behind him, chased him, can't get near him. And they actually had, with the wide players they had 5v3 against us. And you're like, that can't happen at any, for me, that shouldn't even happen at like under 10s, under 12s, where you say, after freedom, go and enjoy it. That shouldn't happen at any level. I'm going to make a quote now, Jamie, and you'll probably think I'm fucking mad. I don't want Liverpool to sign Bellingham. I don't want him. Because you know what I think? What us Liverpool fans, and another thing with the media narrative, when you used to watch Souness and all of them on Sky and everything, I think to get the best out of this Liverpool side, we need 3 dogs. We don't need Thiago. We need to go back to the days of Ronaldo, Henderson and Fabinho. Legs. And you allow Trent and Robbo to stay so far up the pitch, it's untrue. That oppositions don't know what the fuck to do. You allowed your 3 attacking men then just to interchange and cause absolute chaos. And if it fucks up, you've got 3 dogs who are going to just swoop, press, swamp all over people and just say to the fullbacks again, there you go, you do your stuff. It's not coincidence that Trent only got 1 assist this season, or possibly 2 now. It's no coincidence that. It's because we've had to completely change the way we play, because the midfield can't do the job what made Liverpool's machine work so well. And this is going back on Jimmy quickly for Gakpo. I don't understand why we didn't go and get that Moroccan centre midfield. He's got a £40 million buyout.
Amrabat.
Yeah. Why not go and get him? Because he's horrible. He drags
the best type of horrible you can get. Yeah.
He's horrible. So why not just say, I'll tell you what, we'll bite the bullet with Gakpo, let him go to fucking Man U, Spurs, wherever you want to go. We've got to get this horrible, nasty cunt in our midfield and make us some legs somewhere along the line. And then that, for me, gets you top 4 football.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out, lads. What have you got on for the rest of the week? Anything exciting?
Golf Thursday, mate.
Ooh, go on, lad.
How's
the handicap these days?
Well, just have a look at his face.
Yeah, that was all right.
You tee him up. I'll watch him down.
Right, I'll give him that one.
Go on.
I was going to say, don't think it matters what your fucking handicap is now after that comment, to be fair. There's no comeback there.
No.
What about you, Tank? Much on?
No, mate, just think about more fucking lines that abuse Jimmy by next Monday.
Oh, by the way, I saw a fucking great, I'm going to send it in the group with a fucking great video that exactly like Tank. Let me try and find it. I'll send it. Go on.
Okay, yeah, keep that one.
I felt bad about sending it before, but not after he just said that now.
Right, lads, with that, that's enough from us for this week. Quick favour to everybody at home. So, as we always say, if you can comment, like, share, all that good stuff. But just make sure, if you can, listen to our podcasts, subscribe, because I was looking at some of the data, and a lot of the listeners that actually listen to the podcast, whilst the numbers each week are growing, the subscriber count isn't to the same level. So if you could, just click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on audio or on YouTube, because those type of things really do help. So one ask from us: 1, we hope you enjoy the show. Let us know any feedback. Number 2, just press that subscribe button for us and you'll be doing us a big favor. So with that, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourselves, and we'll be back with you next week on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.